I just feel like it's a massive countdown with that 5, 4, 3,
Yeah,
2,
we should need
1.
Like a
And then I
gun.
feel like my mind goes blank instantly once it's hit record, which is always useful.
And just imagine you were doing it to a camera, right? Like I'm actually looking at your face, but just imagine you just had a camera lens or whatever, and you just had to recite some words that was on some auto cue. It'd be even harder.
Oh yeah, especially being me with dyslexia, I'll probably just mix up a lot of the
Go back.
words along the way.
Run it back.
But yeah, so I've got a fun story to start off. So for the viewers or listeners, I mentioned to Dan earlier today that I've got a story that normally I would naturally share for him to laugh at, but I thought I would hold off giving the satisfaction to just Dan and share it live. So if it is a bad story, then tough. So I was working. I was working today from a Weatherspoons. Hopefully, we could get sponsorship from them at some point in the future. And working hard, doing work all this afternoon. And I was like, right, I'm satisfied with my work. I am ready to drive home. So all I need to do is pop to the toilet and then walk out and then go home. I could feel the anticipation building.
Keep on saying it slowly and then it works. Yeah.
And then basically there was this a woman and their kid going to the toilet as well. So I was like, cool. I've never been to this Weatherspoons before. I'll just arrow pointing up. I'll just follow them.
Oh no.
So I'm wondering what everyone's thinking already. So they walk up the stairs very slowly, and I'm like, okay. And then we pass one door, and it says "Mind its step," and because the plaque was slightly different so on each, or what I learned later, on each door, there's like two separate signs. There's like a plaque that sticks out that's really easy to read. There's like "Mind the step" or "Private" or whatever, or in Sunny of Philadelphia's. What was it, pirate, as he jokes, but or there's this really like a lino rubbish reflective one of if it's the guys or girls toilets. So me being me going, I've never been here before. Normally the guys and girls toilets are very similar. Walk down this corridor, pass a door, keep walking, pass another door. But that one I spotted that says, the first one says "Mind the step," the second one was like "Private." And then there's this tight corridor, and there's this woman came out of one door and starts walking towards us. So we had to step to one side as the woman walked past. Me not realizing the woman's looking at me quite strangely as I'm following this lady and kid. But then she carries on going forward.
Hang on. So are you old enough / young enough to look like that's your kid / that's your wife?
No. That is a couple. Okay, that is a woman that looks very nervous that I'm following her into the toilet. So about to attack her or her kid. So she is clearly nervously walking each step as if she's walking to the grave. But me being me was thinking, it's a bit of a maze, this Weatherspoons. So that must be the ladies' toilets ahead of this final corridor. But I reckon there's a right turning that then the guys will be next to it. So she walked in, and I was like, okay, female. I looked to the right, and I was like, oh, there's a wall there. So I was there going, so the first sign says toilet's upstairs. I walked past, and I was there going, maybe it's one of the other ones. And I literally I double-checked to be like, I'm going to double-check that it's not like a toilets, and then you walk through, and then it's guy and girl. And it definitely said late women's or whatever. So then I walked back on myself and luckily found the guys' toilets. But now I know why one woman looked at me very strangely. And this is the thing. I was wearing cap, glasses, I've got my beard on, so looking very dodgy.
Did you have AirPods in as well?
Luckily not. So I don't know if that's better or worse. At least I could.
Were you also doing this with your hands?
Well, I was like ready to basically shoot out there. So obviously not taking someone down, looking like a predator. Obviously wearing black. So funny.
Did she kind of like, you know how you go through a door and kind of like push the door shut behind you? Like, did she do any of that? I don't know. Because by this time, she was slightly.
I think because she was slightly focusing on the girl. I think it's just adding anticipation that she was walking very slowly. But I think it's just I deliberately held off a bit because I was like, I don't want her to think I'm going to follow her into the toilets. but she probably thought that once I passed the guys' toilets that were like, it's like an L shape, and it was the first door that basically said,
you worked there.
It literally said, I definitely didn't look like it. I was wearing trackies and trainers. I looked really dodgy. So basically, it was mind your step. And above that, in a vinyl shiny thing, it said guys' toilets. But I couldn't quite see it from the angle because the light was shining on it.
Which
so
is
once I passed that door,
sometimes,
I guess she probably thought, I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes the guys' toilets, because they know we're guys, they don't mind making us walk, right? So the guys' toilets will be even further beyond the female toilets, right? So sometimes that's the case. So you think like, okay, female toilets are first because like for some reason shorter walk, then guys longer walk. Cool, that makes sense. Like it's logical. But that's so funny. I'm glad you didn't go in because chances are she would have like said something. Maybe she wouldn't have said something. Like who knows? You could see that you were a guy, right? Like you could see that it was.
I didn't have
like,
my penis out. Is that what you're thinking?
No, as in like you had a hood on or like no like long hair or whatever.
I didn't have a hood on, so you saw my face. I don't know, maybe a feminine face, but yeah.
That's so funny.
I knew you'd find it funny, even if no one else does.
You know what's funny? Like, so in I think it was in Singapore. Basically, like they love like obviously crime is low anyway, but what they love doing is like public shaming. So what they have is this like photo of a board, like a cutout policeman with this like arrow pointing to this photo of someone shoplifting, right? And I've seen it like a couple of times, and I think that's such a great thing. It would be so funny if you went back next week and there's basically a photo of you walking behind this woman and kid. We're like publicly shaming, like, do you know this guy? Watch out for this guy. He follows you into the toilet.
I might need to never go back to that Wetherspoons ever again.
Or just like shave and put contacts in, and then it'd be like, no. I remember one time I went into Wetherspoons. This is like way back when I came back from university. And basically I was waiting at the bar to order. And I'm a drummer, so I fidget a little. And I was just flicking this £10 note, right? And it's busy. I'm not like, oh, give me a drink. Kind of like, I'm not like craving. I'm just flicking this £10 note because I'm like a bit, I'm just tapping and stuff. Anyway, I start to see these people like look at me, but like carry on working, and I'm like, this is a bit weird. Like they're kind of like looking a bit weird, and they're kind of like back chatting a little. And then the manager comes over and is like, not serving you. And I'm like, what? You were in here the other day causing trouble. And I was like, what? I've literally just come from university. This is my first night. Like, how? And he was like, yeah, because you were with him. And he basically pointed to John. Like, John sat stood next to me. And I was like, what? Me and him have literally just seen him tonight. Like, we've not been out at all. So I was like, when there's like this public outrage, I was outraged at the fact that you thought I was this troublemaker. But I think it was probably, he made a lie. And maybe I was like flicking this £10 note thinking that, he's like, basically causing a fuss or something. Yeah. In the end, I basically was like, that's crazy. Like, let me speak to the manager or whatever. I think I managed to speak to somebody else, or maybe that wasn't the manager, and I did speak to the manager. And I was like, look, me and him have not been here. So like, you can't not serve us. Like we've not been here. This is the first night. You must be someone else. So then the guy was like, all right, maybe you're someone else. But if it happens again, I'm through. I'm not serving you. I'm like, happens again? I wasn't even the first guy that it happened with. So it's just like classic. So then it became just a funny story. But yeah, so in that Wetherspoons, there's a photo of me being like, do you know this guy? But there's obviously somebody that looks like me in North Wales, in Llandudno, in North Wales, that kind of looks like me. Or someone that doesn't look like me that was flicking a £10 note, and it's like, oh, it's him, but he's just shaving this time. Also, I don't know. But yeah, I think sometimes people have the power dynamics, right? They especially if someone's causing a fuss, then it's any excuse to utilize the power dynamics. But what's the message in your story? Basically, read the signs properly. Is that the message?
The message is, when you're tired, you can follow people in the wrong direction.
Ooh. So basically, the message is, don't follow aimlessly. Because you might end walking in.
I thought you were going to say anally. I was like, no. That would work on the toilet scheme. But
don't follow anally either. Yeah, don't follow aimlessly. Don't follow aimlessly into potentially
anally
a woman's toilet. and also into a situation where a child and a woman feels insecure because you're following them, and then you become the policeman pointing at you, like publicly shaming you in a photo of you outside of Weatherspoons of all places.
I think as well, it just highlights. I wonder what was going in her mind, because let's say she's a localer and she knows the guys' toilets are there, and she knows the next one is the staff one, and I ignored both of them. I'm so fascinated to know the person that was walking at me that clearly was looking at me strangely, now I look back at it, and the person that I was clearly following into the girls' toilets is like, I wonder how much panic or adrenaline that would be going like, and creating a scheme of like, right, I'm going to turn around and punch this guy and then like, I'm so fascinated of like, because obviously they don't have a clue who I am or what I'm about.
Yeah.
So it's like, have they created this massive scheme of like how to get out of the situation? Like, we'll jump out this window and then roll down and then run away, and then the police is round there.
It'd be 100%. That's why I was like 100% they'd be freaking out, right? Because this is like unheard of. Like, you've missed your door, you've missed the second private door. Because if you were a staff member, you would have gone through the private door. And I 100% think that either she was basically going to like quickly shut the door behind herself in that going into the toilets, or just straight away jump into a cubicle. Or like, well, it depends who you are, right? Basically, you would kind of want a dirty fight in the sense of go for his eyeballs, but he's wearing glasses, so I can't. Right? Like you would have to do something because you're trapped into a corner. So I think the second you didn't come in, I bet that was a relief, like in that moment. But yeah, for the moments warming up, I bet she felt relieved that there was a woman there. But I bet she also hoped that the woman walking and saw you said like, you're right, the guys' toilets are over there or something. But of course didn't say as well, because I mean, comes back to that time when that guy thought you were looking at him like strangely, but you were just looking at him, and then like, you know, started a fight on you and whatever. So good times. Yeah. So that chiseled look of yours, you know, that
I've been in many a near fight and fights.
I was thinking even just now, like I was turning on the camera and I was like, if I look like this, then I look tired. But if I look like this, I got no wrinkles, right? Just because the shadows of the lights. I mean, who knows? Maybe it was dark and it was shadowy. You look more gaunt. So yeah, message here, folks, is don't follow anally or aimlessly behind someone, because you never know, they might be going in the wrong direction and you never know. So then basically,
I guess for the person in front is someone could be doing a mistake around you, but you might be assuming the worst.
Yeah.
Because for me, I got there, laughed to myself and walked back at myself. But for her, she might have had, like, for all I know, like an adrenaline dump that she was about to fight someone in a corridor.
Absolutely. And I've got a child with me, and I don't know how this child is going to react. At least a woman was not too far past you. Like that woman would have been in the staircase going back up, right? Kind of, to be like alert. Like, who knows?
For all I know,
she'd be like looking, right?
Maybe she went to the staff and was like, "There's this guy following this woman in the girls' toilet." So as I laughed and went into the guys' toilets, they probably another guy from the bar walks in, gets beaten up.
You didn't laugh out loud, right? You weren't like, ha! You weren't like out loud laughing, right?
No, laughing to myself, like in my head. Right, but cool. What I'm saying is, if she went to the bar and then I went into the guys' toilets, and then the guy from a bar was like, "Oh, I better check up on him. Like, I'm about to get in a fight." Walks in, gets beaten up by the lady that's about to beat someone up. It's like, now that would be a story and a half.
And then you would have just come out. You would have come out, normally done your thing, and then behind the scenes, like, police have been called and everything. And then the week after, when you walk past, there's a policeman, cut-out policeman with a, "Do you know this guy?" And there's a photo of you just walking behind this girl. That's funny. Mistaken identity 101. That is, well, not mistaken identity, because you know you weren't gonna.
I have had mistaken identity a couple of times in Nottingham, out of all places.
Has that also been where someone wants to fight you, think you're somebody and want to fight you?
I think the police wanted to take me custody or whatever and try and arrest me. What? And then a kid was trying to fight me with his older brother.
Wait, this is news just in. I've not heard this policeman before, so let's tell the policeman. We need to tie it into the whole "don't be a doorstop" thing. Okay, so first one we've tied it in of like, don't aimlessly follow someone because you might go into the ladies' toilets. So that's message, right? So at least it ties in to some message of some sort. So tell us the police story and figure out what the analogy is going to be off this one.
Don't be an orange hammer.
An orange hammer. Okay.
So I remember walking through Nottingham city centre through my student years, minding my own business. I sat in a park. I'm a dyslexic person that barely reads, but for some reason I got into the habit of trying to read. I think it was like the New Testament or something. It was one of the books of the Bible. And I had I think someone handed it me recently. So I put that in my pocket and I was wandering the streets, just daydreaming about what I read and meditating on it. And then I can't remember if I was wearing headphones, and this policewoman came up to me and was like, "You're the guy that's been throwing glasses around in a pub." I was like going, "No, I'm not." And she genuinely thought someone, clearly the description was, "Where's orange?" Because I was wearing my Netherlands football top, because obviously that must stand out, and like, you're 6 foot. And they were like, "So where were you in the last half an hour?" And obviously when you're there going, I was in a park reading the Bible. I think that massively defizzed it massively, because she was like, "No, you're definitely throwing glasses." And I'm there going, I've literally got the Bible in my pocket to cover my story. And I know for a fact if you check the CCTV, it won't be me. And she's like, "Oh, okay, we'll let you go." It's the classic, "Well, we'll let you go this time," as if they're giving me the obligation, where it's like, bitch, please, you've walked into my space and wasted my time. And now you're having to go at me as if I'm wasting your time.
So the message is, when somebody, I would say the message is, when someone confronts you, always have a Bible. Always have a Bible to be like, "I was reading my Bible, sir."
Always have a plan B, the Bible.
Yeah. Basically, when somebody comes, it kind of reminds me, nothing shuts a conversation down like mentioning the Bible, right? So that'll get you
religion and politics.
Yeah, religion will shut a conversation. I would say politics, someone would go with you on that one, but religion might be a bit too much, right? I basically, specifically the conversion of it, right? Because she probably knows the next sentence is going to be,
"Do you know Jesus?"
And have you read the Bible? You know, it reminds me of Tide, right? I always remember when trick or treating happened. So Tide is Welsh for granddad. Yeah, there you go. I got there first. Caveat. Basically, Tide used to answer the door and say, "Oh, hey, so I'm going to church tonight. Where are you going?" These trick-or-treaters. And I thought that was beautiful. Obviously, the kids would be like, "Oh, you're a weirdo. We're going off," which then meant he saved money, because you give him coins and stuff. And also he saved on sweets. And also he evangelized in that moment to be like, "I'm going to church. Where are you going?" Which could have been an existential crisis, because you could have been like, "Yeah, where am I going?" Because you might have thought "What do you mean when I die? Where am I going?" Oh no, So
or the next step, which is next door to hopefully get candy.
yeah. Where are you going? So I think therefore the message here is, always have a Bible gets you out of trouble, basically. So
or gets you into trouble if it's a debate.
Yeah, that's true. Was it just one police person? One police lady?
Yeah, one police lady. So they must have split off to then check different bars or different locations to find this person was throwing glasses around in a bar. That's
so bizarre.
Because I'm pretty sure I asked what bar is it, to then say, "Well, I walked this way, but I don't know if it even got to that point, because they pretty much dropped it.
Plus, they would have been like, "Well, we're not going to tell you the bar, because then you'd be able to say, 'No, I was nowhere near that bar.' You'd be like, 'I was in this other bar.'" It's giving you your alibi.
Yeah, I was more thinking there'd probably be CCTV.
So yeah, that's such a funny alibi. What? I was on this park bench reading my Bible. Couldn't have made that up. We couldn't have made that, because that was legitimately real, right? You were legitimately doing that, so you were being honest. And I bet the copper was like, "Oh, crud, I'm just basically sticking." And ultimately, this is it. A bunch of people do this mistaken identity stuff. Obviously, because we're white, it happens much, much less than if you were, black kid wearing a hood on or whatever. They would just take anybody, wouldn't they? So it's just a different. It's just a complete different game. But even still, it's just people. Yeah. People are a bit bizarre when it comes to that stuff, don't they? And you would say, "Oh no, but they're doing their job. But I think there's just a better way of doing it, right?
But the second one, mistaken identity.
Oh yeah, okay.
Nearly started a
So
fight.
the first one was police. Yeah, go on.
So the first one was police. I think it was first year of uni. A nice integration into knowing Nottingham, which was lovely. The second one, I think I must have been in Nottingham for like 5 years or something. This is post uni. I'm working. I was walking along the streets with our older brother Tony, and this, like, I can't quite tell his age. A guy taller than me, and I'm 6'1". He must have been 6 something, like 6'4" or 5". He sort of looked a bit lanky, so I'm guessing he was younger than me. He definitely had a young face. I'm guessing like maybe 16, 17, but he could have had
a 16-year-old that's taller than 6'1", like a thin, lanky 6'2",
or he looked really young, and maybe he was like 19 to 21 mark direction. I couldn't quite tell.
Because what year was this? You would have been 19, right? Year 2.
So this was after university, so I'd have been like
right. Okay,
20,
so 21.
21-ish direction. So he was definitely younger than me. And it was him. And then there's this little kid to the right of him, because they basically walked straight in front of us as we were just walking through the town, through the city of Nottingham. And a gang behind this bigger kid or whatever. And it's basically the younger kid was like, that was the guy that threatened to beat me up the other day. I'm like, what? Like, who the hell are you? Like, this random kid is saying to his brother right next to me, as me and Tony are there going, I don't know who you are. And we just basically carried on walking. And they came back in our faces. And we were like, I don't have a clue who you're talking about. And I remember the adrenaline, because I was like, okay, first time, I'll notch it off. But the adrenaline kicking off of like, if this kicks off and it's a full-on like fisticuff fight, like, get my hands ready. Like, I have no idea if they've got weapons or anything. So it's like, I'm ready for, like, I've got adrenaline to run, or I've got adrenaline to fight, and I don't know what's going to happen next. And then it fizzed out, and they're going, woo, and then you get that massive adrenaline dump of like, in a weird way, even though you never want to get in a fight, the only time that you always wish you had a fight is when you had that adrenaline dump and you're like, oh, that was a bit of a waste, wasn't it? I wish I at least used it on something.
A waste of hype.
Have you ever seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Charlie and Mac beat up a bunch of kids? It's one of the most funniest
because they stole their bikes or something, didn't they? Yeah. And it was very melodramatic in the way that they were doing it.
But so I don't know if it was those. I couldn't quite tell if it's maybe I did look like that person, or they were just pulling pranks in this sort of city of Nottingham of, who can we pull the blanket over? But equally, it's like, if we'd have full-on battered these kids and police walked by, it definitely wouldn't have looked good for me and Tony.
And it would have been like, you know what would have happened? It would have been like, okay, two guys beat up a bunch of teenagers, and then it'd be like, same guy was also alleged to have been throwing pint glasses in the pub 5 years ago. We finally caught him, kind of thing. Oh, that's so funny. It is annoying though, isn't it, when that kind of stuff happens? Because again, like, for context, like, Tom and I have not been in any fights of our own accord, as in, like, we've only been started on. Like we've only been
or jumped into fights to stop.
Are you talking about me doing that?
I've done it as well at university, of rugby guys trying to beat up hockey guys, but the hockey guys are like paralytic and can barely throw a punch. So I've had to jump in because this massive rugby guy, bigger than me, was trying to get a hockey guy in a headlock, and I just pushed him whilst he was sort of slightly swaying. I was like, you just go away, we'll just keep to our corner. A couple of others as well, but that was one of the main ones I remember. But yeah,
it's just so interesting, isn't it? Like, again, when we think about like it, like when we have kids and stuff, like how you prepare them for that. Because again, I don't think it's a case of like, it's a case of being ready, but ultimately, really, what you would have done in the moment where the kid's starting on you, you literally would have run, right? You would have both run. You'd have been chased by a group of like teenagers, but I mean, it is what it is, right? Like, no one's going to be like, you know,
it's one of those things.
Stop
it's like,
those two guys running.
I know I could outrun them. I don't know if Tony can, so I can't leave him to defend himself again, beaten beaten up by like yeah.
Have this big one.
So that's why I had to prepare for both, because it's like I don't have a clue what's going to happen. Yeah. So I'm just preparing myself for anything. But yeah,
because neither, and I'm right in saying this, right? Neither of us have done like self-defense stuff, or like you've done a little bit of martial arts, right? Just like 1 or 2 times, but I've never done martial arts. So I don't know what that's like. Yeah,
and I probably embarrassed myself because I was doing sound effects at the same time, like Mac.
Yeah. That's one time that I nearly got into a fight. Was it with you? Was it me and you when we were walking about Spud You Like? Do you remember that place? It's called Spud You Like. I think it's called Spud You Like. Spud, like potato. It's called Spud You Like or something like that. It's a place that basically makes baked potatoes. I think it was baked potatoes or something. We're in Nottingham. So basically Tom and I went to the same university city. So we both have stories from Nottingham. We weren't there at the same time, but we visited each other. Basically, we're walking out of the Victoria Centre and this massive guy.
Yes, I was there.
Huge dude cuts right across me and Tom, and I went whoosh, like fake headbutt, like whoosh, like sound, like jokingly. Obviously, Tom and I are not violent. Like violence is like bottom of the scale. We would rather
violence is all internal.
Yeah, we beat ourselves up. Like we beat ourselves up more than we externally beat anything else up. But violence on our like totem toll of like the things we would ever do is like we would be willing to say something cutting about someone or take the mick out of someone way, way, way higher up than do violence. Whereas someone else would be like, violence would be like higher up the totem, but saying something cutting about someone, that would be too serious kind of thing, right? So anyway, violence is nowhere near our thing. So we usually just joke about stuff. So I go, whoosh. Anyway, for some random reason, I do not know why, and it's 2 guys, right? A small guy and a big guy. Some random reason, I turn around. I don't know why. I think it's probably because I was like, I don't want to be punched in the back of the head, because people can die from being punched in the back of the head, right? So I turn around, and it's this like potato shop, right? And I look around, and he's got like grills, like proper grills, and he's like, "You what?" Like, and he starts walking towards me, and then basically I start walking towards him, and I have no idea why I'm walking towards him, because I'm literally saying, "Nah, mate, wasn't you? Wasn't anything to do with you. Wasn't anything to do with you." And then I'm still walking towards him. I don't know what you're doing in this one. I think you're just behind me, right? I'm not sure if you're walking towards me, but I'm walking towards him.
I think I did walk with you, because I was thinking, if we're about to get in a fight, I can't be a couple of meters behind, otherwise it'll be too late.
Then I realized there was this corner of a wall, so I'm walking towards him and I'm closing off my like runoff spot. Because I'm walking towards him, I'm getting close to him, he can catch me, and also there's this wall here, so he can push me into this wall, right? So then I'm like, "Nah, mate, it's not about you," and I turn away and just like walk off, and then we walk off. It was so funny, the fact that, like, people do that to irritate people, right? Just to get someone to get. I wasn't. It was just funny that he like walked straight across us, kind of thing, like knowing that we're walking out. So, and obviously we're much smaller than he was, so just thought it was funny. But I thought it was funny that I was willing to, basically unknowingly so, walking back towards him, be like, "Nah, mate, it's not you, it's not you." Kind of.
Let's talk about fight stories. Like, we hardly ever in fights, but these are all the fight stories in our lives.
You know what? Let's be honest. Nobody watches this anyway. You know what we should do is like, right, stuff the whole. If you listened to last week and we said, comment and we'll pick the best comment and you'll get free consulting. Stuff that. Write your best fight stories, or not even fight stories. Like when you were gonna get in a fight. So not even a fight story, just like the pre-fight fight story or pre-fight story,
or the mental fight that goes on in your head during. We're talking about
mental fights here. So the message, we've always got to tie back to the message. Otherwise, it'll be weird why we call it dumping. The message there is basically, don't be afraid to defend yourself, but know when
with a hammer.
Yourself.
I'm just imagining you with 2 hammers now, just beating someone up.
Like, no, it wasn't you, mate. This is throwing these hammers. It's kind of like know when to like stand up for yourself within reason, but then know when to back up. So it's just like be aware of your surroundings. That's
I already know if this becomes a film, our podcast, we're definitely going to have you as a crime fighter with 2 hammers, like beating people up.
Yeah, that'll be my superhero, like the Celtic hammer. So, as people may have noticed, I'm wearing a vest
that wrench guy.
It's still hot here, so.
That wrench guy. Do you remember that film? Where he goes out beating people up with wrenches. It's so funny.
Is that like the one where he's in a
not quite.
Is that the one where he basically gets so annoyed because he's in a car, he's in traffic, and basically he goes and beats people up?
Could be.
Is it that one?
It could be. I think it's very similar to Kick-Ass, but it's something else. Or it might even be maybe part of Kick-Ass. Maybe it's a different
What's Kick-Ass's
character.
tagline? You know, the guy off The Office, that guy. He's like, "Shut up, crime." Yeah, that's it. That's his tagline. "Shut up, crime." That's what he says.
Wrench Fighter. Let's see if anything pops up onto the...
Is it like is a film or like an anime?
It's a film. No, it's an actual guy. It's basically, I'm pretty sure it's a guy, and it's basically midlife crisis, but then just like flips a switch. Like, it's like, right, I'm just gonna be my own vigilante, but it's not like, is it someone with loads of powers? It's just a guy with a wrench.
It's a guy with glasses with like a white shirt with like rolled up sleeves, though, right?
Potentially. I think he looks like that Office
Michael
guy
Douglas.
As well.
Isn't it Michael Douglas, the guy that's married to Catherine Zeta-Jones? Michael does the old guy, isn't it him? And he's in like this queue, and he's like hot and stuff, and then he's like, "Stuff
we'll
this."
Have to find out for next week.
For some reason, he's going to beat people up or something. Yeah, I can't remember why he did it, but he was like with the baseball bat and stuff. It wasn't wrenches. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Anyway, what was the wrench story? Where did that come into this?
You becoming a crime fighter. If this becomes a film, that's what I was more thinking. With two hammers.
Yeah, with two wrenches and two hammers.
Oh.
Well, that's what West Ham do, right? West Ham are like the hammers. That's what they're known. So it'd be like
I got two other potential fight stories if we want to slot into this week.
This will be like an extended version. This is like the 40-minute thing. We're like, oh, they must be talking about something really interesting and deep.
Teleport back to university. This was either third or fourth year. You're on the higher pecking order of the university life. If everyone remembers that life, you're not a fresh year. You're out with your sports team on a Wednesday. You keep to the social life of the student life, and you keep away from the local city life.
Yeah.
And I remember this guy. I don't know why it's everyone over 6 foot, but anyway, I'm 6'1", and this guy must have been 6'5", twice the size of me, with a girl next to him. And a guy that clearly had a beat down that was like thinner than me and like my shoulder height, if not maybe eye level. And I remember going, I need to help that guy, because if I don't step in right now, because we were just walking past as a group, and I could tell the whole group was like, that's the locals, leave the locals do whatever they do. We don't know what they've got. We'll just walk around it. And I think because they were a bit more younger, I think it was first and second year, they sort of didn't want anything to kick off. And maybe they had a couple more drinks than me, so maybe they couldn't handle themselves. So I was there going, no, I'm just going to walk in the middle. And it's like, what's up? The smaller guy was slowly getting up, bleeding down his face, and lost a tooth.
Oh, no.
And the girl was like, no, you need to stop it. Like, don't bother anymore. And the guy was clearly furious. So I don't know if the guy slapped the girl's butt or said a comment or something provoking, because it sort of felt like it must have been, or maybe the guy tried it on with the girl. It sort of felt like
the small guy is on the floor bleeding, and the big guy is like, come on then, because the girl is like, no, big guy, don't do it. Don't
do it anymore, because it's like, you've done it. As if something happened but anyway, that she clearly
the little guy tried
forgave
it on
or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I basically just walked in between them, because I was thinking, all you need is basically someone to spot the guy's face and memorize it, that if he did anything, I could go to the police, and they've got CCTV. So I was like, I'll just leave him. Like, you're beating him up now. He's lost a tooth. He's learned his lesson. Just go.
Oh, and you're saying this to him?
Yeah. And
oh, okay.
Somehow, which is unlike me, and the guy, I think, was like simmered down enough and then walked off. I think because I took his eyes off the guy, that he's like, I could literally kill this guy right now, because you saw sort of red fury in his face. But I was like, just leave him, dude. Like, he's been beaten up by you. Like, you've shown your dominance. Like, cool, you've done your job. Like, if you go any further, you probably will be put in prison. Like, he's lost a tooth, so you've got that. You could take it to Tooth Fairy, make you quid if you want some money off it. Like, sorted. But
so he's gained in this process,
So he's gained. So, but yeah, so that was one story. Any questions?
What's the message? What's the message?
What's the message?
But basically, defend the weak, right? As in, like, I think, again, it's.
I was going to say walk into the unknown, but defend the weak sounds good.
Yeah, defend the weak sounds a bit more like superhero-esque, doesn't it? So it's always interesting with this stuff. You have to be so like streetwise or like just so aware of your surroundings. And I think that's the key thing. You have to be so aware. It's the whole, like, I remember seeing YouTube videos of like someone would like cause a scuffle, and the guy's like, I have a problem with this one dude here. But actually what he hasn't realized, this dude is not on his own. There's actually another 3 lads are basically like walking behind you right now, which are friends with this guy that you're talking to in front of you. So if you start like fighting with this dude, like there's 3 other dudes behind you that are going to kick off. So it's like, it's always about being super aware of your surroundings, basically.
Yeah, it's sort of clocking. Do you think they've got a gun? Do you think they've got a knife? How much would it be aimed at you? But I think you can sometimes tell it looks like they're on a date night. I don't know how this guy's got the beat up. Okay, if I stopped it pre-beat up, then you'd have, again, the adrenaline ready to beat someone up. Yeah. So that could be focused on me. But he's shown his dominance. He's got rid of enough adrenaline, but he's not gone too far that then affect his future. So it's like, cool, like guys sometimes need to beat someone up to then let it out their system. So it's like, cool, you've done that, you got out your system, just go now, because anything worse now will just put him in hospital or take you to the police. Like, you've got whatever out your system. But yeah, so defend.
I think it's so
weak.
Interesting. Yeah, it's like, I understand it. I understand it, but I'm just not wired that way, in the sense of like, I understand ego, you kind of like want to defend the honor and all those dynamics, but I'm just not wired that way to be like, beat somebody up to like defend my honor. And it's not as if like, I just don't know. I'm just not wired that way to like need to assert some dominance over somebody else to like because he's offended me, or like I've been offended in what happened, therefore to get my own back or anything, which is fascinating. And I don't know why that is. Well, I know why that is, because I've been brought up with certain kind of like characteristics and the culture that we've been brought up in. But it's just interesting, like the difference between someone that does feel you've offended me, therefore I need to fight.
It's just more Animal Kingdom style, isn't it? Of just
versus someone that's like, I don't mind, because ultimately I've always thought like someone's going to punch my nose and it's going to friggin' break. I don't want any of that stuff. Like that would be like the easiest thing to just knock off my nose, or just punch my eye and my eye socket like blow. I just don't want any facial reconstruction service. So I don't want to
lose the moneymaker.
Mess around. Yeah, I don't want to lose the moneymaker. So, although at least if I lost the moneymaker, not that I'm going to, like, at least I'd have a voice for radio still. I remember someone saying,
we'll remove the video from podcasts.
Yeah, you'll just have an emoji version of me just speaking. If you see an emoji version of me, I've been in a fight and I've been messed up. But ultimately, it wasn't because of me. It was because I was trying to defend the weak. Or I wore orange. So that's your one story. What's the second story?
Second story was in a different country far, far away. This was actually in Wales, but it was in South Wales. So it was actually in Cardiff. Again, me and Tony, I guess we're like honey to flies or whatever you say.
I think there's a pattern here. If there's anything that you learn from here, don't wear orange and don't be around a guy called Tony. Change your friends, people. Change your friends.
But to be fair, this was us intervening, Batman and Robin style. So we saw.
Wait, who's Batman? Who's Robin?
Oh, we'll let the listeners gather information. Okay. It was, but anyway, we literally saw 2 gangs of kids. One that was like probably used to fighting, and one that were clearly skaters, not used to fighting, but getting beaten up. And like when I say beaten up, like one guy had his belt and was like hitting people, and it's not like whipping them, was holding the leather side, and at the end was the buckle. So hitting people with the friggin' buckle side, beating people up. And it was a bit strange because like I think people were looking at them going, oh, that's probably play fighting, and clearly were walking away, or just like walking wide around them. And it was on this like little skate park, and it was as me and Tony were just, I don't know, doing a wander and just talking about life or whatever. And then I think Tony clocked him, was like, oh, we need to help these people, because clearly like this isn't a mess about like pushing around, because you're not seeing anyone laughing. Like you clearly, it seemed like it was honing in on 1 or 2 kids for some reason. And it's clearly these kids that are up for fighting. I remember Tony just walking straight in there, but what he did is he got his phone out and started recording instantly. And he was like, just to let you know, guys, I'm recording, so whatever you do, I'll just send it to the police. And literally, it was if, like, 100-meter sprint, gun shot off. Like, everyone that was out there, like a whippet. And luckily, the guy...
running towards him?
No, running away. They realised that we could share at any point, running away from him. And basically, Tony spoke to the main guy that was getting pummeled. I think there was some blood out of either his nose or his mouth or whatever. And was like, dude, I can share you this video if you want. And he's like, no, it's okay. He didn't want to press charges or whatever. So that, and then we walked away from that. So there we go.
It's so interesting because what was that, like 5 years ago? How many years ago was that? 4 years ago? 3 years ago?
Probably over 5 years.
Okay. So 5 years ago, and like someone being nervous about being recorded, but I would say probably like the recording thing happens like standard now. You're going to be recorded, right? So like people kind of sometimes will do it anyway because they've been recorded. So it's kind of good that scared them enough to run off, because I assume at that moment they're not all hooded up or have like balaclavas on or whatever, so they're doing
they're
beatings,
just wearing not. It's like a sunny Saturday afternoon type of thing.
Yeah. So
I think one guy was even topless. He was just like going for it.
That's another thing with some people, right? As soon as they're about to get in a fight, they pull off the top. I have no idea why, but they have this. Either they've had a hot flash, or they're like, don't want to get blood on this designer T-shirt or whatever. They full on rip it off, or not rip it off. They full on pull it off, and then they're like, and a lot of the time,
or they know they're fighting a homophobe that doesn't want to punch a naked body.
I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know. So it's just like one of those weird things. I remember someone actually that I used to know. Basically, whenever because he was a tall guy, whenever he used to get like started on, he basically used to kiss them. And that would basically defuse the situation. It somehow worked for him or whatever. So, but yeah, I think it's...
So every time he said, last night I kissed 3 people. Like, how do you
it was
racial...
3 fights, yeah.
Like, is that 3 fights or 3 girls?
I don't know. I assume that it wasn't anywhere of a statement. I don't think he ever made a statement like that. But I think anything to defuse the situation, right? Because I've always thought, it thankfully hasn't happened to me directly, especially being an adult. I've always thought, like, what's that one thing that you can say to like completely change someone's mind, to get them out of the seeing red of like, this guy's offended me, I need to like defend my honor. Like, what's that?
Do you know Jesus?
well, this is it, right? Like, do you know Jesus? I've thought about this a lot, and I'm like, maybe that is a good question, or is it like,
no, is he your boyfriend?
So yeah, like I don't know. Like it's one of those things, but hopefully I'll never have to figure that one out. But it is interesting. It is interesting because again, if you're asking like, why are you angry, or like, what's upset you, or like, use your words. You know, I don't know. Like, you just need to figure out something. So sometimes you can't rationally have a conversation with someone, right? Because they've shut off the rational ability, and they're just all pure emotion or whatever. But
so what would be that story? I guess for different fights, you'll use different techniques. Just in life, for different situations, you'll use different techniques, and it doesn't mean it's wrong or right. It's whatever needs to deal with the situation ahead.
Yeah, Kim always thinks I'm a bit of a meerkat. When something's kicking off, I'm like, oh, what's going on here? And it's all in the name of like, basically,
justice.
Well, it's a balance. It's about like awareness, right? If I know what's going on, I know which way to walk now. Or like, if I know what's going on and I'm just obliviously walking off backwards, like something or someone could punch me in the back of the head. Like, it's all like the paranoia, basically. Well, not paranoia. It's just kind of like skeptical, little bit on, you know, can't trust people, don't know what's going to happen. So you're just like aware. Because again, when you're walking around with a girlfriend or a wife or whatever, then you naturally feel more protective, right? Or even with a sibling. You feel like protective, or parents or whatever. I remember the first time Mum and Dad came to visit Nottingham, it was literally a stabbing down this road, and there was all the police tape. And we were literally going past it. It was like, oh yeah, this is what happened last night. It's just funny.
I can't remember if it's the same visit.
Well, it's not funny, but like, it's
or
just
the second visit. I remember a guy busking with a guitar, and someone started on him as we were literally passing him, and starting with him with a bike seat, about to go into a fight.
Yes,
and the guy grabbed the handle ready to use his guitar to go into a fight, and you're like, yeah, let's go this way. Oh, look over there, Mum and Dad.
Yeah, I remember that. Again, it's like, it's the funny story of like, whenever you like show someone around, something crazy ends up happening, doesn't it? So, and it's about like protecting
good
that
note to leave on
a little bit. Yeah. So basically, heighten your awareness and be wise about what you do. And video people. Yeah, I was going to say bring the house.
Video people. Video topless guys.
Yeah. Video topless guys. I'm like, I'm going to send this to the police. Yeah, cut that. And don't follow people into toilets. That's just not cool. Read the signs. Read the signs, people.
Hammer time.